How deep can the abyss of the human mind go when there are no rules or taboos? Today, you'll delve into the dark and disturbing world of the Cannibal Café, a site where the darkest desires became reality. Are you ready to face the unimaginable? The dark web, an inaccessible part of the internet through traditional search engines, is a labyrinth of websites and anonymous networks where the worst of humanity hides. The Cannibal Café is just a small glimpse of what can be found in this shadowy corner of the web. The Cannibal Café forum was a feast of horror, a place where the boundaries of morality blurred and the most perverse desires manifested without shame. This forum was a community where cannibalism, in all its forms, was discussed with chilling normality. A macabre banquet where lovers of the morbid gathered to share their darkest fantasies. The horrors of the Cannibal Café weren't limited to virtual conversations. In some cases, these fantasies spilled over into the real world, with tragic consequences. Anonymity was the perfect ingredient to foster this kind of activity. Protected by layers of encryption, the members of the Cannibal Café felt free to express their most atrocious desires without fear of repercussions, and it fostered a sense of impunity that pushed them beyond their limits. In the Cannibal Café, users shared macabre recipes, detailing how to prepare and consume human flesh. Their accounts were so vivid and disturbing that they blurred the line between reality and fiction. In this chapter of the dark web, we bring you the terrifying and notable true story of a man who, through the dark web, found a willing victim for his macabre act. Subscribe to our channel to keep getting content that others will never show you. Among the members of this sinister forum was a figure who would embody the horror of their conversations. Armin Meiwes, the Rotenburg Cannibal, a German computer technician, a seemingly normal man who plunged into the depths of the Cannibal Café seeking someone who shared his macabre fantasy, to be eaten alive. From his childhood, marked by loneliness and the absence of affection, Meiwes had developed a morbid fascination with violence and pain. In his sick mind, cannibalism became a twisted form of connection, a way to transcend the barrier of individuality and merge with another human being. In those dark corners of the internet, Meiwes found Bernd Jürgen Brandis, a man tormented by similarly strange desires, who voluntarily agreed to be the victim. Through cryptic ads and messages filled with double meanings, he found the man who, like him, longed for an extreme death. After months of correspondence, they both agreed to carry out the cannibalistic ritual they had fantasized about for so long. On a night terrifying to the ordinary human, the ritual was consummated. Brandes, seduced by the promise of a limit experience, surrendered to his fate. Under the cold and calculated gaze of Meiwes, he was drugged, mutilated, and finally devoured. Every detail of the macabre banquet was meticulously recorded on video, turning Meiwes' home into a horror scene worthy of a horror movie. "I thought that if I ate them, they would become part of me," he later said. Meiwes' story sparked an intense debate about the limits of consent, criminal responsibility, and the nature of violence. Was Brandis a victim or an accomplice? Could such a heinous act be justified in the name of individual freedom? These questions resonated in the collective consciousness, challenging our notions of morality and humanity. And his case plunges us into a moral abyss where the line between life and death blurs and where consent becomes a double-edged sword. A macabre scenario where the desire to die intertwines with the perversion of killing, creating a lethal cocktail that challenges our understanding of justice. The trial. Meiwes' defense was based on a disturbing argument: the victim's consent. Brandes, with a mind tormented by self-destructive desires, had actively sought Meiwes to fulfill his macabre wish. This consent, however, does not exempt Meiwes from responsibility. The line between a death pact and premeditated murder became blurred, sparking an intense legal and moral debate. Psychology and psychiatry experts faced an unprecedented enigma. Meiwes, though disturbed, was not considered insane. Brandes, on the other hand, was in such a fragile mental state that his ability to make rational decisions was questionable. How do you judge a crime where both participants seem to agree? The first trial set a disturbing precedent. Meiwes was sentenced to only 8 years in prison, a sentence that sparked outrage and uproar. Public opinion clamored for justice, but the legal system faced an unprecedented dilemma. The prosecutor's appeal and subsequent life sentence reflected the gravity of the crime, and the need for a strong response. However, the case left a deep mark on society, forcing it to question the limits of the law, morality, and human nature itself. Currently, and despite his life sentence, Armin Meiwes is allowed to leave prison disguised as part of a rehabilitation program. Yes, he walks among us under an altered appearance. The idea that Meiwes is free, even in disguise, infuses fear and unease, and highlights the complexities and challenges the judicial system faces when dealing with such extreme cases. His hidden presence in society underscores the difficulties in balancing justice and public safety in situations where rehabilitation and constant monitoring are essential. Where are the limits of justice when dealing with individuals who have committed such heinous crimes? The Meiwes and Brandes case highlights the dangers of forums in the deep web. It is a symbolic story of the horrors that can arise in the darkest corners of the internet. Studies suggest that anonymity and the lack of consequences in the dark web can lead to disinhibition, allowing people to express and act on desires they would never have manifested in real life. The Cannibal Café not only exposes the power of technology to connect the most disturbed minds, but also the dark abyss that can exist within each human being. This forum reminds us that when society's judgment is removed, the darkest desires can surface, revealing a side of humanity we would prefer to ignore. How far can we go when there are no limits? The answer, hidden in the darkest corners of the web, is a disturbing reflection of the monsters we can become. Remember to subscribe to learn more about the dark web, and tell us in the comments what other topics interest you.